Welcome to Fitzdog Radio. It is with a heavy heart today that we say goodbye to Fitzdog Studios. It's the fourth or fifth Fitzdog Studios, but probably the most significant one in the history of this show. I've been at the Santa Monica Airport in an office for the last 13 years. And we just lost the lease. The city, the Santa Monica College bought the property from the city, and they are demolishing it so they can put up pickleball courts. Yes. So that little stupid overweight people that are afraid of real sports can smack a little ball around instead of hardworking entrepreneurial Santa Monica and Venice citizens can actually do jobs. This whole office building is filled with the most interesting people, just like little indie filmmakers, directors, writers, architects, how about like dressmakers? There's actual dressmakers. It's like an Amish barn. Met a lot of good friends over the years in this office, and I'm saying goodbye to them today. I already said goodbye to a bunch of them. And moved my shit out. My big lazy boy is out. Refrigerator, TV, it's all gone. And we've moved on. I got a lead on a new place. And we'll pick it up from there, I guess. But I just am very thankful. I'm trying to look at it like that. Always think about gratitude in life. Because whenever you're having a hard time and you feel like life is screwing you, you can also look at it with gratitude. I know it sound corny, but honestly, like, I got a lot done in this office is about 15 by 15 or something. I don't know. It's tiny. And I wrote a book in this office where I pulled all-nighters and I slept on the lazy boy for a couple hours at 3 a.m, then got back to work at 5 a.m. I mean, I almost had a nervous breakdown, and I got it done. I have done probably more than half of all my podcasts have been in this room. Written scripts for TV shows. I've written a lot of stand-up comedy. I have thought of shows. I've brainstormed shows with friends and fellow writers. I've taken naps. I have the place means a lot to me, and I got a lot done here, and I'm grateful. That's how I'm looking at it. And now we move forward. I've written on a lot of TV shows where I had my own office, and sometimes you get fired. That happens on occasion. I've left a couple of those offices with a milk crate with my shit packed in it, doing the walk of shame on a Wednesday afternoon on a production day. Yes, that happened on one particular show. I won't say which one, but that bitch got what was coming to her. America found out, whatever. I'm not saying which show it was. There's been so many. Getting fired is really bad. It is, as far as human experiences, I'd put it up there with a breakup, especially when you got a family to feed. I put it past a breakup because it's real. A breakup, you may get back together. When you get fired, you ain't going back. That's a permanent breakup. And you don't even try. It's not like you show up with roses the next day and go, hey, sorry, you don't think I'm talented. That wasn't why I got fired. I got fired because I had a fucking bad attitude. And now you all know why. I'm not saying which show it was. I've written on go to my IMDb page. So here we are saying goodbye to this office. And I can't think of a better final interview than what I just had this afternoon. Robert Smigel, Triumph, the Insult Comic Dog, SNL writer, first head writer on Conan. He's got a new movie out. We'll talk about that in a minute. But he's a guy that is one of my all-time heroes. And he came in today and we sat down and we talked. We did an hour and 10-minute podcast. And then we talked for an hour and a half afterwards in the office. We had a very heartfelt talk. We talked about a lot of shit. And it was really nice getting to know him. He's a guy that if I lived in New York, I think we'd be friends. Dare I say we'd be friends? I don't know. He's living in fucking Jersey now anyway, so who knows? But anyway, so that's coming up. We've got, what else? We had a nice time Thanksgiving week. My mom came out for 8 days. Love her. Had such a nice time. Just stayed busy with her every day. I mean, she's getting up there. She's like 82 now, I want to say. 81? Maybe she's 81. Yeah, 81. And but she had a really tough heart surgery a couple years ago, and it took a lot of her energy away. She's not the fireball that she was, but she's still going strong. We did a lot of walking. We went to the Getty Center Museum, which is just the best. If you ever come to LA, do not miss the Getty Center Museum. It is John Paul Getty. John Paul? Was it Ringo? I can't remember, but it was Getty. He was a wealthy oil guy, and he left like a lot of money, and they built one of the most incredible houses and museums you've ever seen in your life with the best views of LA. And I took my mom up there, and we looked at the art, and my daughter was there with her friend Mimi, and Mimi was very taken by a lot of the art. It's just beautiful to expose people to that. So check it out whenever you can. And then we went down to San Diego on Friday to see off my niece Julia, who came up for Thanksgiving, and we drove back down there, saw her apartment. We went to the Coronado Hotel, and people, it's a very photographic hotel. There's a Christmas trees up, and it's built in 1888, and so every time I saw a group of people with getting their picture taken, I would walk next to whoever was taking the picture, and I would also start taking their picture, to mixed results. Some people immediately started laughing, high fives. Other people, let's call them Asian, didn't get the joke. That's fine. I think your jokes should not be gotten by all. Let's shoot for 78% of the audience. That's about right. If you're getting 100, probably ain't that funny. So, did that. Had a great Thanksgiving. We did the soccer game in the morning. We did dinner. We had 11 people over. Ran in the ocean. Went to the Dunskies for some desserts. Got home late. Great day. And my mom, she likes her red wine. We always know when it's time to go, when her teeth turn, when they go from pink to red to purple. It's time to head out. Everyone loves her. My mom gets in your face with love. She goes up to people and she's a listener. She asks you questions. And then at the end of the night, she puts her hands on both sides of your head and pulls your face in close and tells you what a special person you are. And she means it. And it runs right through you. And I miss her already. She just left today, and she got to fucking LAX, and she gets there, and there's no wheelchair to take her to the gate. She probably didn't reserve one. That's not my mom's style. I think my mom just kind of shows up to places and expects everything to work out, which is a little bit how I live my life. But so there was 30 people waiting for wheelchairs at LAX because she can't walk that far. I finally was on the phone with her. I was like, Mom, your flight leaves in a half an hour. You better start walking. So she starts walking and flags down a guy who's on his way to the 30 people. And she grabs him and goes, no, you're taking me. So she made her flight, just talked to her. She got in all right. And she's back in Florida. So that's it. And then I go to the airport again on Saturday. This Saturday? I think in a week. This Saturday. My son is leaving. He's going to Central America. He's flying into Guatemala, and he's going to spend 5 months in Central America, like taking buses around, hitchhiking, going to Mexico for most of the time. And so I'm very excited for him. I'm doing a Kickstarter account to pay the ransom for the kidnapping, but, you know, it'll be an adventure. It'll be something he talks about when he's older. You know, other people talk about like, oh yeah, remember when we played flag football in Central Park and then we went out for tall boys at McSorley's? No. He was gagged and bound in the back of a makeshift pickup truck and held by banditos until his parents emptied out their savings account to bring him home. Oh, I'm a little nervous. About my son going away. But he's traveled the world before. He's traveled around Europe for months and months, and he's a kid. Grew up in a city. He knows what he's doing. Traveling with a good guy, Gabriel. And we'll get him back. Right? Yeah. I'm going away also. I will be in San Francisco this weekend at the Punchline, November 30th through December 2nd. Maybe my second favorite club in the country. There's a big benefit. I have not announced this yet, and I'm remiss. I produce a big benefit every year for Best Buddies, which is a group I work with. It helps people with intellectual disabilities, and I donate 10% of all my merch sales I have for about a decade to Best Buddies. So I produce this big comedy show every year. It's going to be at the Comedy Store on December 13th. We got Sarah Silverman. We got Andrew Santino, Bobby Lee, Annie Letterman. We got a big name we cannot announce because this person has a big theater show in LA coming up. But it's going to be an amazing show. Get your tickets now. It sells out every year. Go to my website, get tickets. Also coming to Fort Worth, Hyenas, December 15 and 16. Milwaukee Improv, December 29th through 31st. The Den Theater in Chicago on January 13th. Also coming to Atlanta, Portland, La Jolla, and Tampa. All tickets at fitzdog.com. Come out, check out the new material, post special. And also, we want you to check out other live events. The best way to get tickets, whether you want sports, whether you want comedy, theater, you name it, you're going to go to Game Time. It's an app that allows you the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for everything. Killer last-minute deals, all-in prices. You can get a view from your seat on the app. They've also got a best price guarantee. If you can find the same seats in the same section and row for less, Game Time gives you 110% of the difference. Here's the genius of this app, is that you can go on the app and you wait. It keeps an eye on things, and eventually prices tend to go down. Everybody thinks, oh, I better buy early, or you stress out and you think, oh, maybe I should wait till later. Whatever it is, this is the best way to get them. Right now I'm looking at Rolling Stones, July 10th, 2024. Tickets are only $167. This is one I would jump on early because I think they might go up. As opposed to Rod Wave tomorrow night at the Forum for $114. That's going down. Enrique Iglesias is coming. That's $79 with Pitbull. So anyway, it's fun to track. It knows your area, and it shows you what's coming up. It's a couple of taps on the app. It's real easy. Downloads right into the app. You don't have to print anything. You don't have to transfer anything. I use it all the time. No matter what city you're in, you can use Game Time. And here's how you do it. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Fitzdog for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code FITZDOG for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Hey now. All right, let's get to my interview now. This guy, he just co-directed, co-wrote, and wrote all of the original songs for and voiced characters in this movie called Leo. I watched it yesterday. It is, I don't care if you're a little kid. I wouldn't say little. I would say kids 6 and up, all the way to adulthood. It's a really, really well-made, funny, good film. It is, he's the guy that also brought you TV Funhouse.
He's TV Funhouse from SNL. Legendary SNL writer. Obviously, first head writer on Conan O'Brien's show. He's written a lot of movies with Adam Sandler. I think he wrote the Zohan. Don't mess with the Zohan. You don't mess with Zohan. Punched up all these scripts like Wedding Singer and Wayne's World 2, and he's done it all. I mean, you know the guy. He's the best. I was so honored to have him in, and we had a great chat. So here's my talk with Robert Smigel. Robert Smigel, welcome to the Fitzdog Radio podcast.
Pleasure to be here. Is this thing on camera too? I don't know how to.
Look right down the barrel.
Oh,
right
okay,
there.
okay. Solid 2-shot. Okay, good.
That's
okay,
all we do. We keep it pretty simple.
Give the people a 3/4.
Yeah. Let them see the profile.
Profile is a little excessively Jewish, I think.
Now, is that your father's nose or your mother's nose?
Wow. I think it's more my mom's original nose.
Yeah. Oh, did she have some work done? See, you've already done it. We talked before the show.
Anyway, she's
we talked before the show about things that you're going to want to take out. Nothing comes out.
No, it's all fine.
And you're not gay? Is that what I read on Wikipedia?
You know what? It doesn't matter. Like
No.
George Clooney says, it doesn't matter what I am. And it's great. Whatever I am is great. However I come, it's fantastic.
You fucked George Clooney?
Did I just say that? Oh, shit.
There it goes. There it goes.
Man.
Congratulations. Big news. Your movie, Leo, has 34.6 million views in the first 6 days. The biggest debut ever for a Netflix animated film.
Oiche, moiche.
Huh?
That's a lot of viewers. You might want to check it out. The lizard that you'll fall in love with. Yeah, he's...
They can't tell me wrong.
34.2 million Netflix subscribers. Can't be wrong. No, it's
That's
like
amazing,
it is
man.
amazing. This is the first thing. I've been in show business for like 38 years, I think, and this is the first thing I've ever done that everybody likes.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Wow.
I mean, there's like comedy sketches and shit like that, but every project I've done since that has been outside of late night comedy has had success.
Right.
But not like this. Like, like I did some movies with Sandler, and, normally a lot of times they're mean to him, the critics.
Yeah.
Like, you don't mess with the Zohan, that kind of thing. And then I did Hotel Transylvania, which made a shitload of money. It was a big success, but not a critical.
Did 2 of those, right?
I did 2 of those.
Yeah.
Not a critical success, though. This thing, it just, and Sandler was positive that this was going to happen.
Oh, is that right?
Like when I pitched him the idea, practically, he was like, "Fucking, that's going to fucking be, Smikey, this is always, how about do it, how do it?" I was like, "Really? That big?" Oh, yeah. I was like, okay.
It's I saw it, and it's
Oh, you saw it?
I saw it. I loved it.
You're a professional.
I'm a professional.
I've done like 3 interviews in the last couple of days, and nobody had watched it.
Oh,
Thank
really?
you. Thank you for watching
Oh,
it.
Jesus. Yeah, I loved it, and I've already recommended it to my cousin has 2 kids.
Yeah.
That are about that. What are these kids, like 11?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're 11.
And her kids are 11 and 13, so I said, you got to watch this.
That's great.
It's got hard, funny jokes.
Yes.
It's got great characters.
Cool.
Great voices. Bill Burr. I don't know.
Yeah.
When you write for Bill Burr, like, how much of it do you let him
He
fool around
improvised
with.
a little bit, but most of what we used was scripted, and it was just written for him. I mean, I just pictured Bill
Yeah.
from day one when I started writing this draft, and I just love Bill. Obviously, he's one of the greatest comedians going, certainly of the last 15 years. He's incredible.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I pitched it to Adam, and I was like, because I was thinking he's probably going to want to use Schneider and Schneider's great, and so is Steve Buscemi's could have been great, but I just had Bill in my head, and I just thought it would be fresh and exciting to use him, and you know, and getting to work with him and have him abuse me was a thrill.
Oh, did he? Yeah.
Well, it's part of his act. I like to think.
Yeah. And
Robert Smigel. Yeah, terrific. Yeah. Oh no, nobody likes you. You understand that, right?
Oh, that's hilarious.
I mean, we go back because I was such a fan of his back, like before he exploded. He was still like one of the funniest comics in the country, and I had him close Night of Too Many Stars.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, a couple of times,
Wow.
like back in like 2012. And I remember we had this amazing bit on Night of Too Many Stars where Katy Perry came out and sang with an autistic girl. They sang Firework, and the girl was like really good at piano.
No shit.
Yeah, and they did a duet, and the whole audience was in tears. And then Bill came out, and he did this insane, hilarious riff on Steve Jobs and how overrated he was, and it killed. But and I was just over the moon after that show primarily because of this Katy Perry thing. It was just like amazing, and everybody's coming up and talking about it. And then Bill's like, "Yeah, thanks for having me follow the crying kid." Yeah, the kid wasn't crying, but everybody in the audience, I knew what he meant. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Nothing better. Following a autistic girl hugging Katy Perry with all her might. John Stewart was even crying. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Burr. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Burr. Yeah, thanks. That's great. Can't wait to do it again. Anything for the cause, Bob. Anything for the cause.
Oh, that's amazing.
And you know how it is with him. You can't totally tell if he means it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got to mean it on some level.
Right.
But then he no, it's cool. I want to. And then he said, every time we do this, I want to close. I like the challenge. I want to close.
Yeah. He likes the challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. He texted me yesterday, and I had shit to do. He had shit to do, and we spent 45 minutes texting the most profane, horrible shit to each other. And that's our conversations. He'll call me we started together in Boston.
I'm sure, yeah.
He'll call me on the phone and just be like, "What are you doing, queer?" And we'll just stay in those voices for 25 minutes. And then my wife will come in and go like, "How's Bill's wife? How are the kids?" I'm like,
I don't know.
I have no idea, but I think I'm queer.
He's incredible.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, so, Adam totally went for it and is very happy that we used Bill.
Did they do scenes in the booth together?
They only had one day. They did all their lines separately, and then we had them work together one day. It is weird. But I was like, we got to get you guys together just once in case there's some, we know. And Bill did come up with a lot of funny shit that day.
But
and we
wouldn't
used
that
some
save
of it.
a lot of time if they were both in the same room?
You would think, yeah, but it was complicated. You know what? This movie was done. So we had a table read on February of 2020. And
no shit.
Exactly. And we're over the moon. It went really well. Thank God we got the table read in because the network, the Netflix executives heard all these laughs. So that was like a big relief. We didn't have to like litigate every joke, But then like a month later, Rudy Gobert Rudy Gobert from the Jazz and that's when everything turned. when Rudy Gobert, who plays for the Utah Jazz, or did at the time, announced that he had COVID, an NBA star.
This is before the bubble in Orlando?
Oh, yeah. No, this is what caused that. It's like within a day, March 11th, I remember, everything went to shit. An NBA player announced he had COVID, and then the NCAA March Madness was canceled, and we all knew that we were in it.
Yeah.
And here's the craziest thing for people who know the NBA and Rudy Gobert. So I had taken my kids. I had turned 60, and I was like, fuck, I'm actually going to do something for my birthday this time because I hate being 60. And so I managed Conan was somehow covering somehow they got me tickets to see the All-Star game in Chicago, the NBA All-Star game.
Yeah. And
we go there, and we didn't have great seats, but my kids were able to run down the steps. They were only like 10 years old at the time. And they get to see all the players leaving the court. And, they got to high five a couple people. And then Rudy Gobert, this player who's, a superstar center, gives one of my kids his compression sleeve.
No way.
Yeah. And we're all so excited. Look at this, Rudy Gobert's compression sleeve. And then like literally 2.5 weeks later, Rudy Gobert has COVID, and nobody knew any shit about COVID. Like I didn't know that if you got it right now, you couldn't possibly have had it 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We had to do research. Like the one fucking person who gave my kid a souvenir is the first
souvenir.
First NBA player, the first
hilarious.
professional athlete to announce he has COVID.
Right.
So we were just freaking out for like an hour, and then we figured out that everything was going to be all right. But so we ended up doing the whole movie on Zoom, the entire movie.
Oh, really?
Everything. And Bill had to do his voiceovers like for the first round of, they call it a scratch track.
Yeah.
You just have to get the voices down in decent shape and, start. It wasn't even animating to them. We just had crude drawings of the characters and storyboards. And we wanted to create what they call an animatic, which is just a video representation of the movie with just still shots. So Bill, just everybody who did voices just did them from their houses.
Yeah.
And
they're not playing off anyone else's voice. They're
they're
just
not,
laying down their
sometimes
lines.
I would like do the voice for him back and forth so that he'd get a little sense of the rhythm.
Right.
I would do Adam or whatever, but because it's mostly him and Adam going back and forth. But yeah, it wasn't a welcoming it wasn't a welcoming environment for improv.
Yeah.
He's literally in a closet.
Right.
Are you hearing me? Is this working? Jesus fucking Christ, Smigel. Bad enough I got to work with you. Now I got to do it in a closet. Fucking fantastic. So we had, so Adam and Bill, until, it wasn't until like 2022 that everybody felt like they could be in the same room.
Yeah.
So we had already laid down a lot of shit, and I was like, let's just do one session with the two of you together. If we get one or two funny lines out of it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Amazing. And then you had kids in it, and Adam had kids in it as well?
Yeah. Well, Adam's kids are like incredible. They're so talented, and they've been in a lot of stuff of his. He put them in just because he likes to have them around and as a lark. When they were younger, but now they're like, they just did that other movie about the bat mitzvah.
Oh, I didn't. How old are they now?
They're like 14 and 16 or 15 and 17.
Wow.
Yeah. And so this girl, Sunny, is basically the star of this movie that came out last September, this September, called You Are So Not Invited to My Bat Mitzvah. And it got really great reviews, and the girls got great. And this is like, they had to overcome the whole Nepo baby craze.
Yeah.
Like suddenly if you have a parent in show business, it's a crime. So like Jamie Lee Curtis, it's just been fooling us for the last 30 years.
Yeah,
apparently.
right.
She's
who's good too is Judd's daughters.
Judd's kids are great. They're totally great.
Yeah.
And my boys, are in this movie, but not by design so much. They are not actors. They are just kids. And they are in the movie because, so when we were laying down these scratch tracks during the pandemic, they told us, well, if you can use any family members, we don't have to pay them. So I was like, well, actually, Ethan, I kind of wrote the bully with his voice in mind because he likes to bully the other kid, who's Rowie, who actually does have a nut allergy and several other issues, and has this really sweet voice that always kind of reminded me of Linus in the old Charlie Brown specials. Yeah. And I even secretly wanted to use Rowie when we did the second Transylvania movie and introduced the little kid, because he just had the sweetest, cutest voice. But I was like, he's 6 years old. I'm not going to do this to this kid.
Right.
So, but now they were like 11 or 12 and they were into it. And there was no pressure because we just did it in our basement.
Yeah.
But then Sandler heard their scratch tracks and was like, they're fucking good. Let's keep them in the movie.
Really?
Let's put them in the fucking movie,
that's
buddy.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
now they get paid.
Now they get paid. But then what they didn't realize, or at least one of them was fine with it, but the other one was like, you actually have a song. I wrote a song for you. He was like, I don't want to sing. He sings a song in the movie that my boy Rowie. And it's like one of the most popular songs on Spotify. Not on the whole Spotify, but out of the soundtrack. Rowie's song. It's the one where the kid sings to the drone. The breakup. The breakup song to the drone.
That's your son singing?
Yeah.
No shit. Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
Yeah, these kids. We didn't want kids who had showy.
Right.
We just wanted sweet, real voices.
Yeah.
Sort of the old Charlie Brown cartoons. The kids didn't sound like Newsies, right. Like professional, spirited act. What? Yeah. Oh, look at that.
My Snoopy hat.
Oh, nice.
Snoopy. Yeah, I feel like my very first introduction to comedy was Peanuts when I was growing up. I had all these books with every comic strip ever.
I was obsessed with. Me too.
Yeah, really?
We even said obsessed at the same time.
Wow.
Yes, I don't know how old you are, Greg.
I'm 57.
Okay, so you probably had. Were they the whole Reinhardt Winston books?
I'm sure. I was
like $1 a book.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were.
There's a museum if you ever get a chance.
I've been there. I've taken my kids there. Jeannie Schultz gave us a tour.
No way.
Yeah, because I met Jeannie Schultz. She happened to be doing Comic-Con at the same time I was, and I had done a tribute cartoon to Charles Schultz on Saturday Night Live, and Jeannie had known about it, so she came to our exhibit. We did a whole session, a TV Funhouse session, and she stood up, and then I met her and we became friends, and I've gone to some of her charity events. And then when my boys were old enough, so I raised my boys to they just love the Charlie Brown Christmas. That's who doesn't love that?
Yeah.
But they became really Peanuts obsessive. And so I brought them to Santa Rosa, and Jeannie met us and took us to the real office that Charles Schultz used. There's a recreated one inside.
Yeah.
But then there's also a real one. And I got to they got to hang out there, and she's just a great lady too.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
The recreation, it was my favorite part of the museum. He's got this drawing table.
Yes.
And then he had built a skating rink next door because he liked to.
He loved to skate.
He loved to skate.
So
he'd write, and then he'd go skate and come back and write.
I know.
Yeah, my daughter lived in that town. That's how I
Santa Rosa?
She lived in Santa Rosa.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. But then they had a wildfire a couple of years ago, and his house burned down. Not the museum house or office, but his actual home.
Oh, that sucks.
So tragic because she had a lot of his old stuff there too. Yeah. But yeah, I just loved Peanuts as a kid so much because it was the first thing that, it was the first cartoon I had encountered where not everybody was happy and not everything was simple.
Right.
And I just connected so hard with that.
Yeah, they had a therapist, and you had
Yes, kids it was like the psychiatry craze in the 60s. And so Charlie Brown would go talk to Lucy about his problems.
Yeah.
That was the best.
Yeah. So I was just telling you when you came in, I think the last time I saw you was The Gong Show was probably like 2007
or something.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So I was the head writer, and you came in as one of the judges.
Yes, and Dave Attell was the host.
Dave Attell was the host, and I'm trying to remember who your co-host was, who your co-judge
other judges.
was.
I know that Dana and Julia, because they were kind of had a Sandler connection. Didn't Happy Madison produce that show?
Yes, they did.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they were there, and Adam Carolla, one episode.
Yeah.
And, Triumph usually gets to say funny things. But Adam Carolla, like just every single time it was time to comment on the performer, Adam Carolla would he's Adam. He just doesn't stop.
You're right.
And I didn't have, it was the first time Triumph was ever like too polite. He was like, and also no, okay, forget it.
Yeah.
No, I'm good. Go ahead. What Adam said. It's all right. And then another episode was with Brian Posehn, and I can't remember. Maybe Andy Dick was there. I don't know. But I had a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah.
It was a great idea to bring it back. But I honestly, and I love Attell. I think he's obvious. We all think he's one of the funniest people ever. But I just think he should have been a judge. He would have been one of the funniest judges imaginable.
Right. He could have been the permanent judge.
Yeah, because I almost felt like he was being held back in the role of a host.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I remember saying at the time, Norm Macdonald should be the host of this show because it needed. What was great about Chuck Barris. Now we're really like, this is for like people over 70. We're talking about Chuck Barris from the
Peanuts. Yeah,
no, I know Chuck Barris. The original Gong Show had this incredibly confusing guy who you didn't know if he was serious or not. He was sort of doing a parody of a host and pretending that he cared, but knowing that it was ridiculous. And I felt like Norm could have captured that.
And kind of knowing that Chuck Barris, even being a kid, I didn't know what cocaine was, but it was so clear something was going on with this guy.
There was a mystery to the guy, like there always was with Norm on some level.
Yeah, right.
Like you didn't know exactly. It wasn't drugs with Norm. It was just like, is he fucking with me right now?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It was like an enigmatic host was required for that show.
Yeah, the host almost has to react to the acts without saying anything and then react to the judges.
Yes, and the host can't shit on the performers because that's the job of the judges. He brought
them out. He's the host.
Yeah,
he selected them.
Yeah, but the magic of the original was that the host acted like this is the greatest thing he's ever seen on some level. But you knew that he didn't think so.
Right. So you were also...
I will say this about Attell. He's one of the greatest guys too. This was one of the strangest things ever. So I had been doing Night at Too Many Stars a couple of times at that point. So I have an autistic son and I do this benefit for autism schools and programs. And a lot of stars participate. Dave couldn't do it, but he was just grateful that I had done his show.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, he asked me about when is the next one. I was like, I don't know. He literally just pulled out a checkbook and wrote a $5,000 check and handed it to me.
He did?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's just like, no one's ever done that.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
He's the most generous person I've
Such
ever
a decent,
met.
yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
Every time he shows up to a club, he walks in with a giant bag of candy and he gives it
For
to the
real?
staff. And then he tips the shit out of everybody. And like,
that's incredible.
You know, he does that
it's so funny.
Mics with Jeff
Ross.
Ross.
Of course. Yeah.
And then they sell merchandise after the show, but then Dave ends up giving, like, there's always somebody from the club that helps you sell it, and he gives them like half the money at the end of the
really?
night. Yeah.
Incredible.
I do a benefit for, have you heard of Best Buddies?
No.
Best Buddies is a group that was started by Patrick Shriver, who is Maria Shriver's brother. And it's for people with intellectual disabilities. And I've been working with them. I give them 10% of all my merch sales. And then I do a benefit every year, which is coming up in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And it's this year is Burr is a Maybe. Sarah Silverman's doing it.
Sarah
Andrew
does
Santino.
everything.
Yeah.
Is there anything Sarah won't do?
I know.
Sarah's the one who set up Katy Perry for me.
No.
And she didn't even know her.
Really?
I didn't know how to. I asked Katy Perry via her manager, "Will you do this?" And they just wrote back, "She's not available." And I just couldn't let it go. And I somehow was like scanning for Katy Perry, like any clues to how I could get to Katy Perry. Found an interview where she was on like the MTV Awards red carpet, and she said, "One of the women I admire most is Sarah Silverman, and because she's bold and whatever it was." And so I called Sarah and just said, "Do you know her?" And no, and I explained what it was that I wanted her to do, and she just DM'd her out of the blue. She DM'd Katy Perry, and Katy Perry responded, and then they communicated, and she just talked her into doing it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. That's
Wow.
Sarah's like a tell, like
Yeah,
just, you know. Yeah, that level of generosity and
That's
sweetness.
amazing.
Yeah.
And we have a guy who's got autism that I've been kind of mentoring to do stand-up comedy. That was his dream. So for we've been doing this benefit for like 10 years. In the last 5 years, he gets up and he does 5 minutes.
Well, that's incredible.
And he fucking crushes.
Really?
Yeah, he's like, his father helps him write the material. And
this is out here in LA?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's tremendous.
Sometimes he gets a little stuck, but then the crowd is kind of like, they wait. And they give it up for him. And yeah, it's really cool.
That's great, man. That's great.
So I want to talk about your early days with Conan because I was friends with a lot of those guys. You know, obviously Louie and
Sweeney.
Yeah, Mike Sweeney, and then was Dino Stamatopoulos part of that group, or was he later?
Absolutely,
he was.
He's one of the most important people.
I mean, Dino's like quietly the comedy genius that most people don't know about.
Yeah, he's not quiet at all, but
no.
But yeah, people don't know him.
Yeah.
As well, he's never had like the giant hit that was attached to him, but he was one of the great writers on the Ben Stiller show, and then when we were starting Conan, his writing packet was just by far, it wasn't even close.
Yeah.
There were like literally 15 ideas. It was like, I would put this on the show.
Really?
Right now. Yeah. He came up with so many amazing bits the first year. The bit Conan Babies, which was just like Conan, Andy, and Max when they were like a running cartoon thing that we did. And he came up with, it's this weird, like he came up with this word crunk. He spelled it Krunk. And it's like the all-purpose curse word. Like, because we can't curse on the air, so we're going to make up a curse word. And it was crunk, and we did a lot of bits with that. And then crunk became this other thing that starts with a C in rap culture, which was very strange how that happened.
Really?
Yeah. Crunk became a big word in rap culture, but it spelled with a C. And I don't know if, I'll never know if it was like unconsciously lifted from Dino's bit or if it was...
I mean, what a wild man. He used to.
Oh, yeah.
He used to be like my sidekick for a while when I first started this podcast.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah. And he would just come in with these stories about, bondage.
Oh, yeah.
And, just
sometimes we would wonder if is your whole life just a bit? Is everything you're doing just so that you can tell people about it?
Yeah. Right.
Because he basically told people about everything he did as quickly as he did it.
Yeah, right.
It's like he'd be like having wax poured on his dick and calling you from a cell phone about it.
My friend set him up on a date one time, and they went back to her place, got comfortable, and then he asked her to take off her shoes and socks. And she was like, "What?" He's like, "That's all I really want."
Really? And of course he can't wait to tell the story.
He told it on the radio.
Yes. Right. Just how he made a girl uncomfortable.
What? You don't like feet? Feet are beautiful.
Come on. What the fuck? Amazing.
Yeah. So you were the first head writer on Conan.
Yeah. Best job ever. Greatest dream come true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did you hire writers? Like, was it all packets or you knew some people?
No, I didn't know anybody. The whole thing came out of the blue. It was like Dana Carvey had been offered the gig after Letterman.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. And he didn't want to do it, but for a moment he considered it, and he was telling me and Conan about it. And he had this little carrot on a stick, and you two guys could be like, you could perform on the show. And I was like, okay. And then I just gave me all these ideas for what a show following Carson and replacing Letterman could be, because I hadn't ever considered it, but then I just started getting all these thoughts of like, oh, well, we could bring sketch comedy to that time slot, because Letterman did all this found humor,
right?
And Letterman openly says like, oh, I stole from Steve Allen. Exactly. But Steve Allen also had this whole other half of his show where he would like have sketch performers like Louie Nye. Now I'm talking to the 100-year-old people. And who's that great actor, Tom Poston?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. I would watch these things at the Museum of Broadcasting in New York. Like I was fascinated.
Street. I
yes,
together all the time.
I was fascinated by late night television. Even when we started the show, I made Conan watch with me. I had ideas for sets. I was like, let's do these throwback kind of sets that were just kind of like modern art, kind of weird shapes and stuff. And I'd make him watch Jack Parr, and Conan just had a different energy, and he would watch these things and just felt like, this is just so slow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And I loved the fact that it was slow, but I knew that wasn't going to be part of the show.
Yeah.
But so Conan was the one that Lauren hired to produce the show.
Yeah.
But it wasn't his dream to produce a late night show. It was his dream to be on camera.
Right.
He was incredibly funny around the office.
Yeah.
Just had great energy. And I was funny in a different, like I could imitate Lorne Michaels and get laughs and stuff, but I didn't have this kind of, own the room energy. I was just a brooding, typical writer.
Yeah.
But like for me, the dream was to do the behind the scenes thing and come up with the show. So Conan quit the gig. He told Lauren, he was like forced to. He took the gig, and they would go to dinner with like Jon Stewart, Drew Carey, all these different potential hosts, and they're all great. But Conan just had it in the back of his mind. Yeah, I swear to God, I think I could do this too. And he just couldn't handle it. And he told Lauren, I'm sorry, but being around this environment just makes me realize that what I really want to do is be a performer, or at least try. And, I'm not saying that I could host, but if you want to consider me, that's great. If you don't, I understand. And then Lauren just took a shot, and Conan calls me and says, Lauren's going to let me audition. And I have to admit, like the tiny little part of me was like scared and selfishly like, oh, well, what if he may not be that good? And I was like, I had all these dreams of like, I'm going to do this show and like have some amazing host, and it's going to be, and like, I felt really guilty, and I was trying to still like, no. So you'll audition and we'll see how it goes and everything. Yeah. And then like, and he said, I would like you to be the head writer. I was like, okay, yeah, no, I could see that. But I didn't just, and then like I called him back because like a day later, I was like, I just realized what an asshole I was. I was like, it doesn't matter if he's my friend, and like he asked me to do this, and he's been supportive of me. Like when I did stupid Weekend Update things on SNL once in a blue moon. So I called him back. I was like, yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
Wow.
But then he ended up auditioning and had a killer audition.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know what it was that made it like I guess he just felt like he had nothing to lose.
Right.
And it was a very tiny audience in Burbank.
And did you write material?
No, I had nothing to do with it.
Okay.
He just went up there and did a very loose monologue, and then interviewed Jason Alexander and who was Tom Cruise's wife at the time?
Nicole Kidman?
No, before her.
Penelope?
No. It starts with an M. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
What's wrong with me? Anyway, someone will know. The actress, we have Google. We should Google it. Anyway, he had this killer interview. Mimi Rogers.
World Series of Poker winner.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
He had this amazing interview with her. And after that, I became too confident.
Uh-huh.
I was like, this guy's gonna fuck it. And then we all, hired these writers, and over the summer, Conan was so funny around the office. I was just like, fuck, man, this guy's gonna own late night television. Within 6 months, everybody's gonna have a pompadour, and, and everybody's gonna want skinny legs, and and so that it gave me the confidence to like just make the show absolutely bananas.
Yeah.
In terms of like the crazier the idea, the better. And so that's why it was the most fun gig ever, because we had like Lorne Michaels behind us. So we were somewhat protected, we thought.
Right.
And I thought Conan was going to be great. And to me, it was like, we have a responsibility following Letterman to be as innovative and crazy as he was,
But it didn't do well out of the gates, though, did it?
Well, here's the thing. So the first week, we had the benefit of Chevy Chase had done a show like the week before for Fox. He had he decided to venture into the talk show world, and Fox gave him a talk show.
Yeah.
And I love Chevy Chase. I think he's hysterical, and it kind of made sense. I remember when I was younger, he was a rumored replacement for Johnny Carson. So this is like 20 years later. This is like 1993, and the talk show was a complete train wreck.
Yeah.
Just an absolute disaster. Like, maybe as bad as like Magic Johnson. Yeah. Or Jerry Lewis. Do you remember when he did one?
No, I didn't know
Jerry Lewis had like a week, and like Charlie Callis was his sidekick. And it was just as Jerry Lewis as you could get. Just like the pompous anger. This man, no one will understand what his gifts are. And Charlie Callis is like, when do I get to be funny? When do I get to make my noises? And nobody. It was just as repellent as you could dream of.
Yeah.
And so, so we got to be compared out of the gate to Chevy Chase instead of Letterman. Like, we still were compared to Letterman, but we had this buffer for like a week. So the reviews the first week were not that bad. We were like, we dodged a bullet thanks to this Chevy thing. And plus, we thought we had great material. I watched the first show like a couple of months ago because it was our 30th anniversary. And I'm like still unbelievably proud of the first show and all the weird shit we did. Like, literally on the very first show, this guy's never been on television. And in the middle of John Goodman's interview, he says, we're back. We're talking to John Goodman. We've got Drew Barrymore coming up. But right now, what was it? He says, we'll be right back after this special effects technician. And then we cut to this redheaded, like, special effects guy just dancing like a hippie. And we played One More Night by Phil Collins, and he's just, and then we just cut back to, and we're back. And it got a huge laugh.
That's great.
Yeah, and I just was over the moon that we got away with that. And Conan was nervous, but really giddy with excitement. It was his first show.
Yeah.
But then like a week later, kind of that energy, that excitement kind of died down, and the quality of guests became what you would expect for a show that has an unknown.
Right.
So now he's interviewing Gore Vidal, and I'm still like doing insane bits. And like, I'm having the interview be interrupted by like, it's Conan's neighbor. He's like interviewing Gore Vidal. I was like, hey, Coney, how you doing? Oh, sorry, Mr. Vidal. That's Doug, my neighbor. Like, literally interrupting interviews. This guy's trying to learn how to be a talk show host on the fly. It would have been great if he had so much experience that he had the confidence of, like, when Kimmel became a late night host.
Yeah.
He had years.
Thousands of hours of radio. Hosting.
Exactly.
Yeah,
he was a broadcaster. So it was really bumpy, but he didn't look bumpy. He never had that. You never felt like Kimmel was nervous.
Right.
And like the show didn't really get its legs for a couple of years, but it was never about Kimmel looking anything less than professional. But Conan could get rattled and was
Sure.
very hyper aware of the audience.
Yeah.
And what's
and yet
really
he caused distractions.
I'm sorry.
He caused his own distractions,
Yes,
even though he
yes.
wasn't comfortable in the seat yet.
Yeah. And what's kind of ironic now is that he's a podcaster, and he's like almost a totally different guy.
Yeah.
He's amazing in his podcast, and that's the guy that we all knew.
Right.
Behind the scenes, like just this incredibly quick, has this really funny way of like kind of bullying people, but in the funniest way possible.
Yeah.
You know, and his interviews are much more in depth now, and you can really see how intelligent he is, and how much he knows, and how curious he is. And that wasn't possible on a late night show. You're just supposed to set up stories.
Right.
You know, you're not really having conversations. And so, and I remember like that summer, we would do these practice shows in Studio 8H, the Saturday Night Live studio, because Letterman was still working. And we would do these setups, and it would just be Conan, and like Dino or Andy Richter would be sort of on the set too. He'd giving him somebody to talk to. And then we would have like people from the staff come on and be pretend guests. And he was so loose and funny. He was very much like he is on his podcast. And I remember fantasizing like, why do we have to have an audience? Why do we have to have an audience? It just throws everything. He can just relax and just be himself. And now it's literally 30 years later.
What it is.
And that's what it is. And I think I mean, he obviously had an amazing career.
Yeah.
And he did a fantastic job, but I think he's better on his podcast.
Right.
I think that's the real guy.
Yeah.
You
That's
know?
interesting.
Yeah.
And Louie was just a baby when you guys hired him. on
Louie
that
was
show.
a baby. Yes. He was 25 years old.
Yeah.
He had orange fingers because he ate a lot of carrots, I remember. And he did not have a great writing submission, and I could get very anal about that and then second guess myself. And I remember Dino just fucking hire him because he had made these incredibly funny movies.
Oh yeah, Ice Cream.
Tomorrow
Night.
And Tomorrow Night was later.
Oh.
That was a feature.
Okay.
I'm actually in that with Steve Carell for a few moments. Tomorrow Night's amazing.
Yeah.
But this was something called, what was the other one you said?
Ice Cream?
Ice Cream, and there was one other. And between that and his stand-up, which was already great,
Right.
he hadn't cracked the whole "my kids are assholes" side of his career yet.
No, he was still he was an absurdist, which
Yes.
is why I can see
Which
that
fit
fitting in.
perfectly for our show. And so he ended up being, I think, the greatest writer the show ever had.
Wow.
He contributed so many, if you're a Conan fan, like the staring contest that Andy and Conan would do, or the actual items bit, which was like a perfect expression of what we were trying to do. Because remember, I said I wanted the show to be, we're going to be the show that makes everything up, as opposed to Dave, who just puts a mirror on reality and twists it and brilliantly. But we can't copy Dave. We can't copy. I didn't even let Conan do remotes for like a year.
Yeah.
Because I was so anal about it, because I'd seen Dennis Miller try to do remotes and Pat Sajak. And it's like, and like Dennis is incredibly funny, but it's just Letterman was like the master at the moment. And I didn't want the guy replacing him to try and do what Dave did in any way, shape, or form. So we would have, so the actual items bit was basically a parody of Headlines.
Yeah, I remember
which
that.
Jay Leno's Headlines, which is stolen from Dave Letterman's Small Town News. But they would just put up funny headlines. And like, this is real. You can't make it up, folks. You can't make it up. You can steal it from Dave, but you can't make it up. And what? Dave invented headlines all of a sudden? What's that all?
I get studying John.
Dave didn't. He invented the news. Thank you. Oh, sure. Now, what didn't Dave invent? Can I talk about polio vaccine, or did Dave invent that? But Louie's bit was like, these are actual items that we found in the news. And of course they were the most They were weird stuff we completely made up, completely over the top. And every time we would show one, look what I found in the New England Daily Herald. And it's just some make-believe advertisement. And then Conan would always say, can't make this up. You can't make this stuff up. So, yeah, Louie and Dino made just an incredible contribution. Like, I had the first instincts of what I wanted the show to be. And, you know, Conan and I fleshed that out a little bit. And, you know, I came up with my own bits, whatever, in the year 2000. And I don't remember. But I feel like Louie and Dino contributed just as much to that first year.
Yeah.
Really in defining what that show was.
I remember I wrote on Louie's first sitcom, the HBO one. And I just remember
Lucky Louie?
Lucky Louie,
Yeah, I loved it.
I just remember you guys being on the phone like constantly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I remember he would talk to you and he talked to Chris Rock.
You mean about his sitcom?
I don't know if it was about it, but I just remember being a lot of phone calls.
Oh, no, Louie was a great friend of mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, that was a great show. I thought so.
I don't know. HBO didn't like I think it was too ugly for them. And not just the
aesthetically. Because
that's
he wanted it to look like Ralph Cramden's house.
Right.
And HBO hates that shit.
Yeah.
They want everything to be,
filmed
yeah, they want everything to look pristine. I had a problem with that too. I can't remember why. There was something I wanted to do on HBO and I was told it's too down and dirty for HBO. I can't remember if it was a Triumph thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, they have that obsession with aesthetics.
And I remember, I can't remember if it was Dave Becky or somebody was saying to Louie, like, they love the characters, they love the jokes, love the show. They just want you to hang better curtains and put different wallpaper. And then we're good. And Louie was like, nope, not going to do it.
He can get very defiant.
Yeah.
You know, I mean.
I also think he hated having a writing staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I remember talking to him about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a part of him because he felt like they're just going to kind of dilute.
Right.
Well, he had a head writer. Wait, you were head writer?
No, Mike Royce.
Mike Royce,
yeah.
Right. Yeah, you weren't the head writer. Yeah.
No, Mike Royce, I think had already done Raymond at that point, right? Or did he go on to do Raymond?
I think he had already
done Raymond. Yeah. And then he came over and he was great head writer. He's gone on to head write a ton of shows since then.
But I think there was something about, like, Louie had an instinct that he didn't want professionals fucking with this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember him talking to me one time and he was just like, you know how sometimes in the writer's room you'll say, like, we can't do that because he goes, just don't do that. Just don't ever do that. He goes, I don't want anybody doing that.
Yeah. I feel like I remember him telling me this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, writers' rooms are a weird dynamic.
It is
in
because,
general, yeah.
I mean, you look at some of the greatest shows of all time and they were kind of one-man shows. I mean, Curb is all Larry pretty much, right?
Well, no, I mean he has guys that
his sounding
he has
boards.
like he has a core group of people like who worked with him at Seinfeld.
Right.
Mandel and Schaefer and Alec Berg, all of whom
Larry
have gone
Charles,
on to Larry was his director.
Yeah.
But those three kids, they've all gone on. Mandel ended up running Veep and Berg ran that Silicon Valley show. I mean, these are genuine talented kids. I worked with them either at SNL or Conan. And, you know, I mean, obviously Larry's the engine.
Yeah.
You know, but like, it's same with like stuff I do. I get credit for shit, but I always have people helping me, whether it's like Triumph jokes, you know.
Who are your guys for that kind of stuff?
Well, Feldman, you know that.
Yeah.
David Feldman.
Yeah. Oh my God.
He's one of the funniest people in the
Feldman
world.
Is a maniac.
Yeah. And
he has written some of the greatest fucking jokes.
Oh yeah.
He says, me and my wife.
Yeah.
You know, we have our hall passes. You know, for a long time, mine was Goldie Hawn and hers was Tom Cruise. And then I asked her recently if we could update them. And she picked Patrick Swayze and I picked The Babysitter.
That is so Feldman. That's beautiful. Oh, no. You know what, though? It's interesting. So, I mean, I could list like 10 other guys who've written for Triumph amazing jokes, including Sweeney and other Conan writers. But just to stay on Feldman for a second, we did this puppet show a couple of years ago that nobody saw. It was called Let's Be Real, where they wanted to do a spitting image kind of show for America. And I was like, this is a terrible idea. Everybody would rather see comedians play famous people than just see puppets. It's too cold. But then I had this idea, well, what if the puppets are interacting with humans? And I thought that'll work. Okay, that'll be interesting. So we tried it, and I think it was a very funny show, but nobody saw it. It was just buried on Fox's Thursday lineup. But anyway, it was great to see Feldman get an opportunity to write sketches. She never really had before. He worked for Maher.
Yeah.
You know, and he's written a lot of other joke-oriented stuff, but he wrote the first sketch we did, which was the funniest fucking idea. It was Andrew Cuomo. No, not Andrew Cuomo. Yes, Governor Cuomo.
Yeah.
At the height of this scandal, this sex scandal. But it was also the height of COVID. And Cuomo, it was actually before, it was like the sex scandal was just starting. And, oh shit, am I going to remember the sketch now? It was all about how Cuomo would give these daily updates. Remember, he was like a hero.
Yeah, he was
for
the
a
guy.
while. He was the guy.
He was a pillar. Yeah.
And then the sex scandal happened.
Yeah.
And then he was, oh shit, I have to Google this. We got to stop tape because
No, you know, I'll tell a Feldman joke while you look it up.
Tell a Feldman joke.
Feldman has a joke. Me and my wife came out of that movie, Indecent Proposal.
Yeah.
And my wife said to me, would you let another man have sex with me for $1 million? And he goes, well, you know, I don't know if we could get $1 million, but I think we could get $50 20,000 times.
Oh my God. Yeah, he's written amazing Triumph jokes, but I'm going to find
Felda's another guy that gets himself in trouble on podcasts.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He lets it out. And those are on my podcast.
Well, that's the beauty of being somebody nobody gives a shit about.
Yeah, right. You can't cancel
He would laugh at that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's his secret.
Yeah.
As long as no one gives a fuck what he says, he can say anything. He has nothing to lose. Okay, so I found a copy of this. This is so fucking funny. So he's like, you know, I know a lot of you think the worst is behind us, but that is the most dangerous time, and we must exercise caution and stay vigilant if we're ever getting back to normal. I know summer's approaching. You all want to go out, dress in light clothing, show some skin, but I cannot stress enough how that behavior will increase the number of New Yorkers who will be sexually harassed by me. Let's look at the first slide, please. All right, as you can see, since I was first accused of inappropriate behavior back in late February, there was at first a spike in accusations. Remember how he had all those charts?
Yeah, right.
So he's doing it about himself. There was a spike in accusations, and I think all of us worried that there was no end in sight. Next slide. But we were lucky enough to see an inevitable decline as more women became aware of the situation and kept a safe distance from me. Next slide. And then it's like, and then it goes to like, he starts saying shit like, okay, how do we flatten the curve? Number one, staying 6 feet away from me at all times. I know some of you are thinking you can get closer than 6 feet if you're standing behind me because I can't see you. Trust me, I know you're there and I'm ready to pounce. And in only a matter of seconds, a New York minute, if you will, you'll be added to this number. All because you couldn't be bothered to stand 6 feet away from me. Just amazing. He wrote, and every word of it written by David.
That's perfect.
Yeah. So David Feldman, absolute treasure.
Yeah, he's the best.
Yeah.
And he moved to New York. You live in New York now.
I live in New Jersey.
Oh,
I had to move to New Jersey. Yeah, because my son who is autistic. We couldn't get him into a decent school in New York.
Okay.
It was just like too many waiting lists and not enough schools. And it was a real struggle for him until he was 7. He finally got into a school that could help him significantly.
But it was in New Jersey. School?
No. He's like not nonverbal, but very limited in his ability to speak. And he needed a lot of attention. And so we finally got into this school and moved to Bergen County, and I've lived there since.
Have you grew up in New York?
I grew up in Manhattan, yeah.
Where?
On West 89th Street.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
My wife grew up on West 78th.
Is she Jewish?
She is of the Jewish.
Of course. How could you not be? Yeah.
I love the Jews. Had to marry one. Jewish women are the best.
I like them.
Did you marry a Jew?
I did marry a Jew.
Yeah. There's something about them that's like they can put up with the little shit. They don't like my wife doesn't sweat me about little shit.
Right.
And then she picks the stuff that she digs on, and then I go, okay, I can go with that. You know?
My wife doesn't sweat the little shit, but sometimes so much little shit adds up that she finally has to say something.
Yeah. You got to poke check once in a while.
Yeah.
You can't just check.
Yeah. And it's another thing is so funny because of the autism connection is like sometimes she thinks that my behavior that like I have like shadow syndromes, as they say, like that symptoms that is like that there's maybe like you're a little bit on the spectrum, I think, and I understand it. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm just an asshole. I'm pretty sure I'm self-centered right now and that I have no problems processing. I have problems thinking about something other than what I care about.
Yeah, right.
But, by all means, I can't.
But that's ADHD, and that's a thing that a lot of writers have because we can hyper focus. If you give us a script, we can fucking dive into it and not notice anything going on around us.
It's absolutely true. And I can go long periods without wanting to write, and then I'll lock in on something and I'll write. Like when I'm writing a screenplay, I'll write like that whole segment where in this movie where Jason Alexander is singing a song and then we cut away to another room and he's having a conversation with this girl.
Yeah.
And then that song, Jason Alexander's song where he's bragging about his family turns into this other song where Leo is kind of mocking her family. And I just locked in on an airplane flight from Los Angeles to New York. And just wrote the whole thing, the song, the scene.
Wow.
Yeah, it just happens that way sometimes where I'm just like flailing and, doing nothing. And then I just decide and then it either hits or it doesn't. I'm not one of those writers who's like Apatow is like every morning I get up and I'm going to put something down on paper and it doesn't matter what it is. No, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I have to be inspired.
Well,
I'm incapable.
It's hard to explain to your wife when you're hanging around in your underwear, watching a cartoon or whatever that like,
this is process.
Kind of process.
It kind of is. I know.
Yeah.
I know. You can, it's like being able to write off business expenses.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Right.
No, this is all leading to something.
Yeah.
It's a screenplay. It may not be for another few years, may not get sold,
right?
But it's all feeding the beast. Trust me.
Well, that's why this office, as small as it is, this was my place to get out of the house and just fucking. I used to have a nice big screen TV and
nice
mini fridge and my coffee maker, and that's all I needed.
Yeah,
and I could waste half the day,
right? And
then finally guilt myself into going, all right, fucking do it now. But I can't do that in my house. I don't know what I'm gonna do. This is my last day in this office. I have to start working out of like my house.
I do that. I work out of my house.
You do.
My wife understands like that. I just need space, and I work in my son Daniel's bedroom. I like work on a bed.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, I do. I'm just like
no shit.
Yeah, a lot of times I don't even sit at a desk.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm just on the internet and just like formulating shit. And when it's really time to write something properly, I will remove myself from the prone position and be an adult. But I spend lots of times just lying down and, but I'm working in some shape or form. I'm working.
Do you miss like a constant writer's room? Did you like that?
I don't miss having to leave my house. Like I have twin boys that are just my whole life. I just love them so much. And I love that I don't have to, that when they come home, I'm home. A lot of times I'm stuck doing something. I had to work on an LA schedule with this movie because they had the production team in LA. So I would like get my kids up at 7 with my wife, and then I'd have to wait till noon to work and end the day at 8, which sucked. But, I was working during the pandemic. It was a miracle that I had this animation job. It was like the one thing that you could actually do.
Yeah.
So it was not a place where I could complain about it. But yeah, I really, and the movie is a lot about, like, I'm not slumming writing kids movies. I'm writing about my life. It is a little weird to go from Triumph humping a live animal to...
It was not what I expected, because I go into movies, I don't want to know anything about a movie before I sit down and watch it. I fucking hate trailers. I get to the movies 20 minutes late.
Good.
I won't listen to anybody. So I went into this knowing it was called Leo. That was it.
That's amazing.
And 10 minutes in, I'm like, when's the South Park shit gonna start happening? When's the Big Mouth stuff gonna start happening?
Nope.
And it just was, but it's just really fucking, it's really great, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. I enjoy the challenge of, I've overdosed on the South Park Big Mouth kind of comedy. Just in the 90s and beyond, I've done so much inappropriate shit. I did an entire comedy album with Triumph with songs like Cats Are Cunts and, so at a certain point I was almost like, I want a different challenge. I want to work within parameters.
Yeah. So
I was kind of interested in doing long form. So between that and then having kids, it's just, that's become my life. And I don't think of it as slumming. It's like kind of what I'm interested in. And there's a lot in this movie that's just my life, like characters and like different kind of entitled parents.
Right.
And, like I said, my 2 kids are playing kids that are a little bit reflections of themselves in some way. And some of the other kids are based on friends of theirs. And, and I just, so I don't really feel like I'm making any kind of compromise. It's just something that I was invested in and interested in.
Yeah.
And I tried to make it as funny as possible. And Adam, I wrote the first draft of this and the basic storyline, but then Adam came in and just, he's always doing like 5 other things, but every time he jumped in, he just made it funnier and funnier.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he would find places. He's like, this could be fun. That's my biggest weakness, I think, as a writer, is rewriting. Like I'll write my draft and like, this is fucking great. I don't have to, I love this. What are we changing it? But Adam would wear me down, or he would just top it and like, oh yeah, no. And I think one of the reasons the movie is really good is also because it took 3 years to like it, a lot of our movies we just kind of knock out and shoot.
Right.
And this one, we couldn't do that because animation takes so long, but we kept coming back to scenes like, oh wait, we could do this in this scene. We could add this. We could add this.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's kind of like, a lot of people have told me how funny it is. And I'm very proud of that also, because I love these Pixar movies, but you sit in the theater, and the kids aren't really laughing all that much, and they're still my favorite movies, movie like Up or Coco.
Love Coco.
Coco's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's not like a nonstop laugh fest, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's the type of movie that is. But Adam and I are comedians, and we're excited to make kids laugh.
Yeah.
So Hotel Transylvania, it's not considered a classic movie or anything, but we were very, very gratified. We would go to theaters and we'd hear the sound of children laughing all the way through.
Yeah.
And that's just a great feeling. Like, you know.
And it's something that, your kids can see before they're 21 years old. Yeah.
Well, I'm a bad father.
Yeah.
I let my kids see South Park at 12.
Oh, okay.
I was like, I'm going to they wanted to see it for so long.
Yeah, you can't stop them. You can't stop
but it opened up the floodgates.
All right, so I don't want to keep you. I value your time. I'm so appreciative of you coming on the show.
Oh, please. I'm thrilled to be here.
Tell your friends, get on Netflix. Leo is now, it came out as the #1 film on Netflix.
#1?
Which is pretty sweet. Although this week you are losing out to a game show about Squid Games.
I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. Yeah. I mean, how's Squid Game? I mean, that's like, how can you not lose to Squid Game?
The second I saw the first episode of that show, I said, they're going to make a real game show about
Oh,
this.
really?
Oh, yeah, I knew it instantly. Yeah. And, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm interested.
Now we'll make a real life Leo game show.
Right.
Maybe that'll do the trick. So thank you. Can I just plug, I don't know, when is this coming out?
Tomorrow.
Oh, Night of Too Many Stars, if you're in the New York area, is December 11th. We've got Jon Stewart, Colbert, Chris Rock, Adam Sandler, Rachel Bloom, Amy Schumer. It's going to be amazing.
Sounds like you need a headliner, though.
Oh, Triumph, the insult comic dog.
There you go.
No, he's not. I'm not.
All right.
I'm not.
Where is the venue?
It is at the Beacon Theater, December 11th. If you're interested, there are tickets available and also very expensive packages where you get privileges and help autism.
Nice.
So do that and check out David Feldman's podcast while we're talking about him.
You're right. Yeah, what's it called?
I think the David Feldman Show.
David Feldman Show. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Bud.